Thank you, everybody. My name is Letizia Lopreiato, and yeah, sorry, I forgot the mic. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm a visual poet and installation artist. I'm originally from Italy. I've been living in Ireland 12 years now, and I was in Spain 5 years before then, and carried out my master research thesis in Copenhagen. So I studied between Milan and Copenhagen, and I moved to Spain, then to Ireland. My background is not in photography, it's actually in diplomacy. So I studied international relations for cooperation and development. And it is through a series of incredible life-changing conditions for me, including the diagnosis of visual impairment, which I now refuse to call impairment because of photography, thanks to photography, and that I actually embraced like photography, film photography specifically, as some people say the way of survival, that art is a way of survival. That for me, actually, it was literally to come out of a survival mode, if we want, that I have built for myself for almost a decade, as I refuse to grieve, not rationally, the passing of my dad. So when I embraced photography in 2018, I started the project that you can see here actually in one of the solo exhibitions of the Photo Island Festival this year. And for me, I just knew I had to photograph what was happening around me, and this is the first year, the one that you can see here showcased, is the first year of a 4-year documentary, autobiographical documentary, included, I call it a journey from grief to love. It's both the history of the story of healing, passing through trauma and a series of losses that both myself and my mom experienced after my dad passed, that basically really has meant the processing of so many unresolved emotions, and it has also meant for me like the most empowering experience I ever lived through, and that has been thanks to photography. The reason why I've included in this video mainly the shots that have been taken, so the documentation that have been taken in regards to all the audience over the past 2 months that here at Photo Island Festival have interacted and with my installation, with my inclusive installation, thanks to the tactile photography that I developed to give access to also a visually impaired audience that could have chosen to visit the show. It's because, is of course, to honor the topic of today, and thanks so much to Arvo for inviting us all to talk. But it's also mainly because it has been key for me to become, and that was not something that I forecasted when I created the installation, to become a living part of the installation itself, because I started understanding that for me, being here and talking and in a way holding the space for the audience to be here, and allowing myself to be vulnerable, because it was my story of grief. My mom is on the walls, and it was really impactful for me to keep talking every day in a different way, and connect in a different way with the audience that was literally touching my most vulnerable moments in the installation. And I discover, really thanks actually to, I say, the most visionary curatorship experience I ever lived, thanks to Photo Island and Angel and Julia this year, that really my main vocation is installation art, using photography as a way to empower, instead that, as a way to empower both myself and the audience in the understanding that photography and visual arts can and should be made accessible for an audience at all level of able-bodiedness and all level of neurodivergency. That's how I decided okay, this is what I really want to do with my art. So go back to what has been my core and the reason why I chose to study international relations for cooperation and development. So I now know for sure that what I want to do is to become, in a way, I can say through my art, an ambassador for social inclusion and a change in the discourse around what actually mean to experience reality through an alternative experience of the senses. Because for me, really, embracing photography, and I've always been a poet since I was 12 years old, embracing photography and combining visual, so combining, visual imagery with my poetry has been key to understand that it has been the most empowering experience I ever lived, to really also interact with the audience in a constant, innovative way. And the vulnerable moments that the audience has shared with me have been really like life-changing for me. And what I will be doing basically for Culture Night, so I was awarded a 1-year residency, studio residency at the Dean Art Studio here in town, in Dublin. And I will be showcasing a video art piece with all the documentation of these past 2 months for Culture Night and the Dean Art Studio, also showcasing how the audience has interacted with me and many different stories that I shared. I really want to stress the fact that the tactile photography that I created had never been, basically this technique had never been applied to photography in Ireland, and surely not to a whole exhibition set, for example. But I spent 2 years and I could have only done this through the funding that I received from the Arts Council, through a bursa that I received in 2021 to fund this research. But like the reason why, for example, I decided to, I'm trademarking, I'm in the process actually now of trademarking my art installation concept for social inclusion, because I want this to become, as I said, an ambassador of changing the discourse, and in the fact that it shouldn't be so expensive as a process. It should be a process that like all artists could have access to, and ideally all exhibition like this setup was incredibly enlightened, because I was not saying no on literally anything that I proposed to create this experience, and it has been really welcoming for me, even with the barrier that I experience, or we can say access barrier in many cases, to the engagement with my art. It has been really, as I say, I don't have another word but to say empowering, and that's the message that I would like to share. So yeah, I think I have one more, yes, So basically, I'm sharing one sample from the tactile photography that I developed. Uncle is kindly making life a bit easier because I didn't know really with the microphone how to walk around. And so if you would like to touch it with your own hands and try and feel more than think about what the experience of touch connects you to. Because one last thing that I would like to share is that I was incredibly impressed, really moved, in many cases brought to tears actually, by the audience here over the past few months. Because when they were touching the images, whereby I didn't have a sign on purpose announcing that these images can be touched, and I was there just to answer questions or to just respond in case the audience wanted to engage with me. Kids were immediately driven to touch, because then reflecting, of course, they're at high level, the table was set up at a high level so they could see the relief right away. But also because they are multisensorial by default. So the room has been darkened. That was an idea Anna and I had to really connect with what actually was my worst nightmare since I was a child, so darkness. Ironically enough, when I lost most part of my visual field in my left eye, I was petrified for over a year, thinking, oh my God, everything is going to be dark. And then photography gave me another set of eyes. So for me, the whole experience was incredible, absolutely life-changing. And everybody that came and touched the images, very interestingly, recalled a different experience. So some people say it reminds me of moss. Some people say it reminds me of the tires of the first bicycle that I got when I was a kid, and there was, or like the brakes and the rubber, no? But loads of memories like these. And so I was very glad to understand that this installation work and the tactile photography can work. And like my next, basically, the expansion of this project is to make it available also to run workshops with kids and try and understand what their response will be, and with more vision impaired, for example, audience. And that's it. I think it's pretty much. Thank you so much, everyone.